Have you ever found yourself copying someone you admire? Maybe it was a successful entrepreneur, or a wise spiritual leader, or a powerful public figure. You try to walk like them, talk like them, think like them. You read their books. You wear their quotes like armor. And yet, something still feels missing. What if I told you that the secret isn't in copying their footsteps, but in chasing what they were chasing? That's exactly what Matsuo Bashō, the great Japanese poet, meant when he said, "Do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the wise. Seek what they sought." This is not just a quote. It's an invitation, a wake-up call, a shift in how we think about growth, wisdom, and success. And in this video, I want to take you on a journey, one that helps you stop living like a copy of someone else and start living as the realest version of you. Think about it. When you follow someone's footsteps, you're walking their path, not yours. You may end up at their destination, but it might not be where you belong. It might not be what your heart is hungry for. But when you seek what they sought, when you aim for the truth they were chasing, that is when transformation happens. This is the difference between imitation and inspiration, between memorizing the formula and discovering your own equation. Imagine walking into a forest. There's a well-worn trail, safe, clear, mapped out. But Bashō is saying, don't just follow the trail. Look up. Ask yourself, why did the person who made this trail begin walking in the first place? What were they looking for? Because if you can answer that, you might just find something far deeper than a destination. You'll find direction. Throughout this video, we'll break down what this quote really means and why it has the power to change the way you think, live, and learn. We'll explore the difference between surface success and soul-deep fulfillment. And I'll show you how the greatest minds in history didn't find wisdom by copying. They found it by seeking. This is not a call to reject your teachers. It's a call to look through them to see what they were seeing. Because wisdom was never meant to be repeated. It was meant to be rediscovered. And today, that discovery begins with you. Let's dive deeper. Let's start with a hard truth. Imitation is safe, but it's also shallow. There's comfort in copying. You don't have to take risks. You don't have to question yourself. You just follow the blueprint someone else made. And for a while, that can feel like progress. You're doing what works. You're following success. But sooner or later, something inside you starts to feel off. Because your life was never meant to be a replica. It was meant to be original. When you imitate, you're walking a path someone else carved. But here's the problem. Their path was made for their feet, not yours. Their journey was shaped by their wounds, their questions, their hunger, not yours. So when you walk in their footsteps, you might look like them on the outside, but you'll feel lost on the inside. This is where Bashō's wisdom cuts through the noise. He's not saying, don't admire the wise. He's saying, admire them for what they were after, not just what they did. Let me put it this way. Imagine someone watches Bruce Lee's movies and decides to become a martial artist. So they copy his moves, wear his clothes, memorize his quotes. But Bruce Lee once said, absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own. Even he, a global icon, knew the danger of imitation. Imitating wisdom gives you a mask, but seeking what the wise sought, that gives you depth. When the Buddha left his palace, he didn't do it because someone told him to. He did it because he had a question burning in his soul. What is the cause of suffering? and how do we end it? That question became his path. Socrates spent his life asking, what is the good life? Not because he read it in a book, but because he couldn't rest without understanding. These weren't people following formulas. They were chasing truth, and that's what made them wise. You don't become wise by copying the outer layer of someone's life. You become wise by asking the questions they asked, feeling the hunger they felt, and walking toward the truth, even if the road is lonely. Seeking is brave, because it means leaving behind the safety of imitation. It means saying, I respect your path, but I must find my own. And here's the paradox. The more you seek like the wise, the more wisdom you actually find. Not because you copied them, but because you learned how to see like them. So ask yourself right now, am I following someone else's steps? Or am I seeking what they sought? One leads to a shadow life. The other leads to your own light. Let's keep walking. There's more to uncover. To truly seek what the wise sought, we have to ask a deeper question. What were they chasing? What pulled them forward when life pushed back? What made them step into the unknown, leave behind comfort, and devote themselves to a search that might never fully end? The answer isn't always obvious, but it's always powerful. The wise, across cultures, times, and philosophies, weren't chasing success. They weren't chasing followers. They weren't trying to be famous or right. What they sought was something bigger, something eternal, something invisible but essential. They sought truth. They sought freedom. They sought understanding. They sought connection to life, to self, to the infinite. Take Lao Tzu. He didn't write the Tao Te Ching so people could memorize it. He wrote it to capture the quiet, flowing truth of nature, to help others feel the rhythm of life and return to simplicity. What he sought wasn't dominance or recognition. He sought harmony. He sought the way. Or look at Rumi. He wasn't just writing beautiful poetry to impress an audience. He was spinning language into a portal, a door that could take you closer to the divine. What he sought was union, love, the collapse of ego into something larger. What about Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor with immense power, yet he filled his journal, meditations, with reminders to stay humble, calm, wise. Why? Because he wasn't seeking glory, he was seeking character, inner peace, mastery of the self. These men didn't want to be worshipped. They wanted to understand. They wanted to live in alignment with something bigger than trends, applause, or imitation. And that's the invitation Bashō offers us. So let's make it personal. What are you seeking? Strip away what you've been told to chase. Remove the pressure to mimic others. If nobody was watching, what would you still be curious about? If you weren't afraid of being misunderstood, what truth would you run toward? Maybe it's wisdom. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's the courage to live honestly even when it's hard. Whatever it is, that's your path. That's your real education, and it's yours to walk. There's a reason the wise often withdrew from the noise of the world. Bashō himself was a wanderer, a poet. He traveled the Japanese countryside not to be seen, but to see. His wisdom came not from reading others' words, but from watching rivers, touching trees, listening to silence. His poems are echoes of a heart that was awake, not to trends, but to truth. He didn't want you to copy his words. He wanted you to feel what he felt, to wake up, to notice, to chase the mystery, not the map. When you stop chasing the footsteps of the wise and start chasing what they chased, you begin to see the world with new eyes. Ordinary things become sacred. Small questions become doorways. Silence becomes a teacher. And that is where wisdom truly begins, not in having all the answers, but in being brave enough to ask the questions that matter and walk into them one step at a time. In the next section, we'll explore how to begin your own seeking, how to take everything we've talked about and make it real in your life. Not someday, but today. Let's bring it home now to you. You don't need to wait for a perfect moment. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to begin. Begin your seeking right where you are, with what you have, as who you are. You see, seeking doesn't require a pilgrimage or a dramatic life change. It starts in your attention. It starts in your willingness to ask, what matters to me, really? Too many people go through life never asking that. They chase what looks good on the outside because they never stop to feel what's true on the inside. They collect degrees, job titles, followers, and still feel empty. But you're here. You're listening. You're ready to ask the better question. Start by noticing where you feel most alive. Is it in creating? In helping? In understanding? In building? In healing? Where do you lose track of time? Where does your curiosity tug at you again and again? That's where your seeking begins. Don't rush it. You're not hunting for treasure. You're uncovering something sacred. Something that was there all along. And as you begin, let go of the need for certainty. Let go of the pressure to get it right. Seeking is not about control. It's about listening, exploring, trusting that your questions are valid and your path is unfolding exactly as it should. Here's a truth most people miss. You don't have to see the whole staircase. You just have to take the next step. Maybe that next step is journaling or reading or spending quiet time alone. Maybe it's asking deeper questions to the people you love. Maybe it's walking in nature without your phone and letting your thoughts breathe. Whatever it is, do it with full presence. Because every time you give your attention to what truly matters, you're training your mind to recognize meaning. And with each step, you'll start to notice shifts. You'll start to feel more rooted in your own experience rather than chasing someone else's. You'll trust your inner voice more than the noise around you, and slowly, steadily, you'll start becoming someone you recognize, not someone you copied. The wise didn't arrive at wisdom overnight. They asked, they wandered, they waited, they stumbled, they doubted, they began again. And so will you. You'll learn to see the world not through borrowed eyes, but through your own. And you'll start to recognize that the same questions that haunted the sages, who am I? What is real? How should I live? Are still alive inside you. And that's not a burden. That's a gift. So take the next step. Seek not to follow. Seek to feel. Seek to know. Seek to live awake. Because the wisest path you'll ever walk is the one only you can make. In the next section, we'll explore how to protect your path, how to stay grounded when others try to pull you off course, and how to trust yourself when your journey gets hard. This is your time. Here's something you need to know from the start. Once you begin seeking, the world won't always understand. Some people will question you. Others will try to pull you back into the old way, the safe way, the well-trodden path. Not because they're bad, but because your journey threatens their comfort, and that's okay. Seeking something real has never been about pleasing others. You're not here to prove yourself. You're here to live your truth. But let's be honest, staying true to your path is hard. It means listening to your inner compass when everyone else is shouting directions. It means trusting your curiosity when it leads you away from what's familiar. It means being willing to look wrong before you feel right. So how do you stay grounded when things get tough? You build anchors. An anchor can be a daily habit, like journaling, meditating, or simply sitting in silence. An anchor can be a question you come back to again and again. What am I really seeking? An anchor can even be a person, someone who reminds you of who you are and why you started. You'll need these anchors, because there will be days when doubt comes knocking, days when your path feels too steep or too foggy, days when it seems easier to just go back and follow someone else's footprints. But that's where the real test lies. It's not whether you feel afraid, it's whether you keep going anyway. Let me share a secret. The wisest people you admire, they faced the same resistance. Bashō wandered the countryside during times of war and hardship. Rumi wrote his poetry in the depths of grief. Socrates was condemned for thinking differently. They weren't immune to struggle. They were shaped by it. And so will you. Every challenge on your path is an invitation to go deeper. Every detour is a chance to see more clearly. Every time you fall and rise again, your truth becomes more unshakable. There's a Japanese concept called kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with gold. Instead of hiding the cracks, they make them beautiful, visible, celebrated. You're not trying to be flawless, you're trying to be real. And the gold in your story will come from the moments you kept going when it would have been easier to quit. So protect your path, not with armor, but with presence, with patience, with the quiet power that says, "This is who I am, and this is what I'm here to seek." Remember, the goal isn't to arrive. The goal is to keep becoming, to keep discovering, to keep tuning into your own soul while the world tries to sell you a version of success that doesn't fit. Your journey will never be linear, but it will be yours. And that's what makes it sacred. In the next section, we'll explore what happens when you begin to uncover what you were always meant to find. When your seeking turns into knowing and your questions start pointing you toward something unshakable. There comes a moment on the path when something shifts. You're not chasing anymore. You're not trying to look wise or sound deep. You're not comparing your journey to anyone else's. Instead, something inside you clicks. You begin to know. This kind of knowing isn't loud. It doesn't brag. It doesn't try to convince. It's quiet, steady, and powerful, like a river running beneath the surface. When seeking becomes knowing, you feel it in your bones. You make decisions from a deeper place. You speak less, but mean more. You stop looking for signs and start becoming one. This doesn't mean you've found all the answers. It means you've learned how to live with the right questions. You're not demanding certainty anymore. You're choosing alignment. Think of the great sages. Bashō didn't shout his truth from mountaintops. He whispered it through poems. Rumi didn't preach in temples. He danced, he wept. He turned his longing into verses that still touch hearts centuries later. This is what happens when wisdom is no longer a goal. It's a rhythm. You walk through your day with intention. You breathe with awareness. You speak with care. You pause before reacting. You give more than you take. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because it feels right. And that's the knowing. It's not flashy. It's felt. You begin to recognize truth without overthinking. You sense what aligns with your spirit and what pulls you away from it. You may still stumble. We all do. But you recover faster, with more grace. You start becoming the kind of person others trust, not because you have all the answers, but because your presence says, I've walked through fire and I've come home to myself. This inner knowing is your compass. It's what the wise were chasing all along. And once you taste it, you'll never want to go back to pretending, performing, or people-pleasing. You'll start to love the simplicity of truth, the ease of alignment, the freedom of not needing to follow, only to be. This is where the journey changes, from seeker to seer, from follower to founder, from copy to creator. Not because you've arrived, but because you've remembered. Remembered that what you've been looking for has been quietly looking for you too. In the next section, we'll talk about what to do with this knowing, how to carry it into your everyday life so it doesn't fade into theory, but becomes a living, breathing part of who you are. Because wisdom isn't something you find, it's someone you become. So you've found something real. You've touched that deeper known inside you. But now comes the part that separates the seekers from the sages, living it. Because wisdom isn't just what you believe, it's how you behave. The world doesn't need more people who sound wise, it needs more people who live wise in the quiet, ordinary moments that no one else sees. That's where your real practice begins. Living your wisdom means letting it shape your relationships. It means listening more than speaking, responding instead of reacting, choosing kindness when ego wants to win, walking away from what drains you, and walking toward what fills you. It means bringing your whole self to everything you do. Whether you're making coffee or writing a book, you do it with presence, with intention, with heart. That's the kind of wisdom people feel before you ever say a word. But here's the part most people miss. Wisdom isn't just for the mountaintops. It's for the marketplace, the living room, the office, the street. It belongs in how you start your morning, how you speak to a stranger, how you hold space for someone's pain. It belongs in your boundaries, in your creativity, in your rest. When you live from your truth, you become a quiet force, a lighthouse, a steady flame in a flickering world, and you'll start to notice something magical. People begin to lean in. They ask how you stay grounded, how you stay calm, how you see so clearly, not because you preach, but because you embody what you once only admired. This is when your wisdom becomes a gift to others, not through control, not through persuasion, but through example. Living the wisdom you found also means returning to it again and again. Life will test you, you'll forget, you'll slip, you'll fall into old patterns. That's okay. The point isn't perfection, it's consistency. It's return. Return to the breath, return to the present, return to the question, what am I really seeking in this moment? If the answer is peace, then let that guide you. If it's truth, let that ground you. If it's love, let that soften you. When you live this way, life becomes less about performance and more about presence. You begin to realize that your path isn't about arriving somewhere. It's about becoming someone. And that someone, they've been waiting for you right here beneath the noise. So live your wisdom. Don't just quote it. Don't just admire it. Don't just study it. Live it in your breath, in your choices, in your way of being. Let every day be your practice. Let every moment be your teacher. Let your life become the message. In the next and final section, we'll bring everything together and talk about what it really means to seek like the wise, and how doing so might just change not only your life, but the world around you. This is where the journey returns to where it began, but now with new eyes, a fuller heart, and deeper insight. When Bashō said, "Do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the wise, seek what they sought," he wasn't discouraging you from learning. He was challenging you to feel, to question, to become. Because to seek like the wise means stepping beyond comfort, beyond image, beyond borrowed truth. It means walking toward something real, even when the road is invisible. It means refusing to settle for surface-level living. The wise weren't perfect. They were human, just like you. But what set them apart wasn't their fame or their words. It was their fire, their devotion, their refusal to be satisfied with half-truth or hollow success. To seek like the wise is to live awake, to ask better questions, to stay open when it's easier to close, to listen when the world screams for attention. It's to choose depth in a world obsessed with speed. And when you live that way, even quietly, even imperfectly, you change things. You break cycles. You soften hardened hearts. You remind others that there's another way, a more honest, more grounded, more beautiful way to live. This is how movements begin. Not with noise, but with knowing. Not with ego, but with clarity. Your path won't look like anyone else's, and that's the point. Maybe your seeking leads you to stillness, or to creativity, or to service. Maybe it draws you deeper into community, or deeper into solitude. Maybe it rewrites your idea of success, or helps you finally come home to yourself. Whatever your seeking reveals, trust it, because what you're looking for is looking for you too. And as you walk, you'll meet others on their own path, not to compare journeys, but to share light. You'll become a reflection of what you once searched for. You'll inspire not through teaching, but through being. That's how you honor the wise, not by quoting them, but by continuing the quest they began. So here we are, at the end of this video, but truly the beginning of something far more important, your journey. Don't just follow, seek. Don't just admire, awaken. Don't just repeat, rediscover. The footsteps of the wise are not a trail to replicate. They're a reminder that something sacred is waiting to be found, and it's waiting for you. Start where you are. Let your curiosity lead. Let your soul speak. And above all, never stop seeking there